Okay. Recording in progress, it says. So thank you everyone for joining me tonight. Me and Chevonne are here to discuss about networking. And I am going to start with a poll first. Yeah. So a quick poll. And it's about networking. Do you have a plan for networking? So you might already have a plan, or no, because I hate networking. No, because I didn't know you need a plan. No, because I just wing it. Just go with the flow. Okay, let's see what the response. Oh, there is a couple of people with a plan. I like that. And nobody so far hate networking, which is surprising. And most of you are just winging it, right? Okay, let me show you the results. Yeah, can you see the results?
Yes, it shows on the screen.
Okay, so a few of you, yes, I'm impressed actually that you have a plan, and then the rest no plan, either because you didn't know you need a plan, and that's why you're just winging it as you go along. And I'm happy that none of you hate networking, because that's already a good mindset to have, that I don't hate it. I just need to be better at it. And hopefully after tonight, from what we discussed, you will get a better idea how to structure networking, how to approach networking. Very good start. Thank you very much. I'm gonna share my screen. Stop this. Oh. Okay, can you see my presentation now?
Yes.
Awesome. Okay, a bit of introduction about myself first. Most of you know me already, so I won't labor too much about it. One of the main thing I want to mention here is I'm actually a clinical doctor, believe it or not, and I went into pharmaceutical industry almost 20 years ago now, and I've worked abroad for quite a while, or over 20 years as well. And currently, one of my main area of interest is about helping people develop in their career, so to climb the career ladder. And when I thought about it, there are a few things that I believe we need to be better at when you're planning about your career climbing. And this includes how you how you improve your CV, your LinkedIn page, which is important these days, your interview skill, presentation skill, and of course your work performance, then your image and personal branding. And then the last part is about your network, about how you network, which is what we are going to tackle today. So the other ones I have also discussed in previous webinars, and you can look at that on YouTube if you want, and that's the QR code for that. And tonight specifically, it's about networking internally and externally. And why I chose Chevonne. Chevonne asked me just now why I choose her is because I can see from her profile, and I met her before, obviously before this, that she has worked in an organization where she does need to network, because she works in organization that handles a call center, and therefore she really needs to make sure that people see her outside her office. And from talking to her, I can see that she has good networking skill. We click straight away after meeting, maybe after even 10 minutes. So I know that she has the skill and can share it with us as well, how we approach networking. So with that, I pass on to Chevonne to give even more introduction about herself.
Thank you so much, Azhar. Thank you everyone for joining us. And thank you for sharing why you chose me for this topic, Azhar. So I've been in corporate, specifically the outsourcing industry, for over 20 years. And they're basically multinational organizations supporting different countries from all over the world. And in 2019, at the end of 2019, I decided to be self-employed. And that's really when I took networking very seriously. prior to that, when I worked with organizations, networking wasn't really a big thing because networking was considered company events, company gatherings, and many of us knew each other. And we always knew somebody who would introduce us to other people. So it was very easy to get to know other people in large companies. In 2019, when I became a self-employed coach, facilitator, and speaker, that's when the fun really began. Because I realized it's not as easy as working within organizations. You know, there are many other people, to them it's, who's Chevonne? What do you do? What is a call center and things like that. So when I first started, I'm laughing just recalling it. When I first started networking, I thought networking was really just turning up to events. And I used to stand in corners because the crowd, no joke, I used to stand in corners and think to myself, what do I do? Like, there's so many people around. And sometimes when I attend networking events, I don't know anybody. And it can feel very intimidating. So I used to stand in the corner and wait for hopefully one person that I know, and then I'll approach that one person and I'll talk to the person. And then as my confidence levels grew, I discovered different ways of networking, but it really started off very badly for me. In a nutshell, that's my introduction.
Yeah, and I think we've all been there, right? We've all been there when we are in an event and we are the only one there representing the company or ourselves, and you just want the event to end because you have no idea what to do, what to say. But like you said, with experience, it becomes better. And I think it starts with the mindset first, that when you are there thinking that I don't know what to do, somehow people can sense that as well. So therefore, you already create a barrier around yourself when you're in an event like that. So we kind of already start the discussion, and we already prepared a few talking points for this. And I want to make sure everyone also understand that you can ask question anytime, and you can type it in the chat if you don't want to unmute yourself. And we have plenty of questions already beforehand, and we'll try to get through all of them as much as we can within this hour. Yeah. And so I think that the first question, Chevonne, is about why do we need to network? Why is it, or it's going backwards? So why do we need to network? And we should answer this internally and externally. Yeah.
That's a really good question, Azhar. It sharpens our skills. I believe networking is really important because we can't take for granted that people know us, whether we're working in a company, whether we are looking for a job, whether it is to expand business. We can't take it for granted and assume that people know who we are and what we do. So it's important to network, get to know people, to give other people the opportunity to get to know us and what we are looking for.
Yep, I agree. I think it's one of the famous saying is, I believe my good work will speak for itself, and that sadly is not true. Yeah? We need to obviously work hard. We need to achieve the high performance, but then we also need to make sure people hear about it. And one of the problem I realized when I came back to Malaysia is because we are told to be humble and merendah diri, so we don't like to talk about our achievements. So we rather want to stay in the background without attracting attention to ourselves. So that's quite a different mindset from the cultural part that we need to address. And I was thinking an analogy about it, yeah, that here we are always stuck in traffic jam. And when we want to change lane, we always stick our car out first, right? And
indicator? Indicator?
Indicator, no way lah, Malaysia. Okay, maybe indicator too, but it's always about you put the head of your car out first, kan? And then you want people to see you, and then they let you in. So for me, it's a little bit like that. You need to kind of start putting your hand out, so that people see you and then open the door for you. So if you don't put your hand out, you don't stick your head out, then you will stay in this oblivion. Yeah? Nobody will see you. So for me, that's an analogy that I hope people understand from the internal parts. I'm talking more about how you progress in your own company. External is a little bit more different. And for me, if you're working for a company, external networking a little bit less important. If I were to prioritize, I would say if you're currently working in a company, definitely the internal networking first. And as you get more comfortable with that, then then you can start doing the external networking as well for future career. But you should always focus on the internal first. But if you're your own company like Chevonne, then that's different. Then you need to network externally. That's your number one priority, getting to know more people out there.
Those are good tips, and that's a good analogy, Asar, because internally, the bigger the company, the larger the company, not everybody knows everybody. Especially if you want your bosses to know you, if you want to get to know people from other departments, the best way is to just say hi.
Yep.
Just say hi, I've seen you around. My name is so and so. I'm from this department. Which department are you with? And just get a conversation going.
Yeah, that's right. And the best time is actually when you just move into the company. So you have that window, not window, yeah, it is a window. You have that window when it's okay to just say hi to everyone and ask everyone out for coffee because you're new, so it's okay. But the longer you are, not that it's not okay, it just gets a little bit weird if you've been there 2 years and suddenly you ask someone out, oh, can go for coffee, and before that you've never made any attempt to say hello to them.
Yeah.
Then they know something is up. What do you want from
what do you want? What's the ulterior motive? Why are you suddenly saying hi?
Yeah. And I want to add why do you need to network is you need to understand how job promotion works, because it's not only your manager that decide whether you get the promotion. It depends. Different companies have different structure. But usually the boss also has a say. The HR director might also have a say. So they're not making the decision, but they're providing input whether they agree or not. And in some organization, it might even be by a committee that decides about the promotion. So you need to know how does it work? And these people need to know you, because they cannot support people that they've never talked to before. They cannot go, oh, I don't know how he works. I've never spoken to him before. Therefore, they will not be able to support you. And that's why you need to understand the structure of who makes the decision. And then that's who you need to network with. They need to know who you are.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Even at times for promotions, based on my experience working in companies, our managers don't necessarily tell us about it first. It might just be discussions amongst themselves about who has the potential, which employee has the potential. So by just saying hi to the bosses, networking, getting to know them, and getting them to notice you, puts you ahead already. And then when your manager does recommend you for a promotion, the bosses or the committee or HR will know who they are talking about, and they can make their own decisions like, hey, I've met Azhar before.
Yep.
Seems like a nice chat. You're already ahead of the curve.
Yep, exactly. Yeah. And then if you're thinking about moving department, for example, then obviously you need to know who is over there. And then also who else are what I would say the influencer to that person, right? Because you want, for me, I tell my team, you want as many people talking good things about you all the time. So it can never hurt. The more people talk good things about you, the better it is in terms of your visibility, in terms of your exposure. And there's a comment from Afzul from South Africa. Thank you, Afzul, for joining. You are always here as well. Thank you so much.
Hi, Abzul.
Yeah, so Afzul, a constant supporter also. Thank you. And
Awesome.
he wrote that you need to be visible throughout your organization. Yeah, I fully agree with that.
There's a thing about networking. It's not so much what we know. The reality is it's who we know.
Yep.
Yeah, that's the thing about networking. And we don't know who is connected to who.
Exactly. Yeah, that's the other part that I want to mention. That's the detective work that you need to figure out who's connected to who. In the larger the organization, there's always what I say, a clique. Is that the right word? A clique, like these people get on with this slot, and there's another group that more of this. Yeah. So you have to understand all that also. Yep. Okay, so let's try move on.
As you do that, as Srilun also typed in the chat earlier, I will never see car changing lanes the same again after you shared your analogy.
Okay. Yeah, now you think, okay, I need to do that too. Yeah. Okay. So a common question that I get is, how do I network because I'm an introvert? So therefore, that's why I wrote this talking point as, is networking only for those extroverted people?
No, it's not. I am not an extrovert. People often think I'm an extrovert.
Really?
But there we go, exhibit E. I am actually not an extrovert. I am more of an ambivert, which means I am a little bit of an introvert. I need my alone time. And at the same time, I need to be around people to thrive. But it needs to be in a balance. I can't have too much alone time by myself, and I cannot have too much time surrounded by only people all the time.
Okay. I'm actually, I'm also a little bit like that, and I was more quiet early on in my career, and I remember I got a comment that Azhar doesn't say very much in meetings, and I remember at that time I always feel that I only want to contribute when I have something big to say. So something small, I feel like, it's not worth saying. But the result was I got a feedback that I was too quiet. So therefore, after that, I made an effort to make sure that even if I think it's a small contribution in meetings and like that, that I voice it out so that I'm not seen as someone that is too quiet. Yeah, because that's not a label you want either, and in an organization that you are too quiet. Yeah.
One of the very first advice I got about networking was from a team leader at the time. This is a while back. And so she said, girl, that's what she called me. She was like, girl, you need to start networking and moving out of your comfort zone. Rather than always sticking to only the circle of friends that you're always with at work. And I didn't like it because I wasn't comfortable with it. Truth be told, because I didn't know what to do. Right? When you're talking casually with people, it's easier. But the moment you know you need to network with intention, it sort of adds that layer of pressure.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, you're not quite sure, how do I behave? How do I stand? Do I shake your hand when I usually say hi? What do I do? But it's one of the best advice because it created a lot of visibility within the organization.
Yeah. One of my early managers also pushed me out to network. I remember that she said, that's the thing about having a plan. And at that time, I was abroad and I had a plan that I want to come back to Asia sometime in the future. There was no clear timeline, but I said maybe about 5 years time, something like that. And she said to me, you need to start talking to people who are in charge of Asia. And she made an appointment for me to see one of the bosses who are in charge of Asia. It was super uncomfortable, but that was one of my biggest memory of I need to network. Yeah, and she pushed me to do that.
Yeah.
And I'm
I don't believe networking is only for introverts, it's for everyone.
Yeah.
To a large extent, I believe that it might be a little bit more challenging for those who are not extroverts because we're not always putting ourselves out there. It doesn't come so naturally for us. It requires a little bit more efforts.
Yep, yep. And that's why having a plan is good. I know it also puts pressure. At the same time, you know that for today, let's say you're going to a company event and you have a plan that, okay, today I'm hoping to see Mr. A and Mrs. B. That's my target for today, to find a chance to talk to them.
Yeah.
And therefore, it's not this, oh, what do I do going to this? Because you do have a plan. I need to see him and I need to see her. And if I get one of that, I would be happy already. If I get both, fantastic. But you go with a plan, you already did some research about what's their background and to the first couple of things you want to discuss, so that it alleviates some of that unknown that is part of networking. Because I think where people struggle with networking is they feel, what do I say to people? I'm not interesting enough. We are all interesting. We just have to find out what's the 1-2 things you want to present about yourself. And when you meet somebody, people actually like to talk about themselves. Therefore, you need to do your research about them and then talk about that. Yeah, do your homework about the person.
Yeah. That's a conversation starter right there. Whether they've written a book, whether they have been on a recent live session, whether they've written an article, it's a conversation starter to mention it. Like, hey, as I watched this recent series of yours, tell me how it started. That's your conversation starter right there.
Yep, I agree.
And the person will remember, like, oh, so you watch my series. And people will remember things like that.
Yes, small things. It seems like small things, but yeah, it's actually very memorable. And after a comment there about making it a habit of actively finding opportunities to talk to everyone. And I don't know whether Abzul, do you feel comfortable to share how you do that?
Sure. Apologies for being late. I find that it comes down to the visibility and to my earlier comments. And you make yourself visible not just by being seen, but by being heard. So finding excuses to share what you're doing with with people as you move through the hierarchies. I mean, I had engagements with the people from the bottom to the top, in all the organizations that I worked with, and really appreciating what your support staff does for you and telling them about it, yeah, that's what I mean. Just actively find opportunities to talk to everyone, and it may be of interest to the person, it may not be, but as you progress with this and make it a habit, it's not a question of just going around and talking to everybody, because that comes across as being false. I like what Chevonne said about and also what you said as well about the doing some research, being able to pick up conversation pieces. I really appreciated what you said in the meeting. I feel quite strongly about X, Y, and Z too. Stuff like that. That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah. Thank you.
Very nice.
Yeah, I remember last year there was a big company meeting where some of my team members were going. And I gave one of them, the most junior one, because she was quite new. I said to her, when you're there, I want you to find fun facts about the people that you're talking to. And she has to report back to me, and she was super stressed about it. But then she told me it was really helpful because she was paying attention to what people were saying and asking more. So that's how you build the connection when you're talking to people, that you're showing interest, right?
Yeah.
So,
being curious, showing interest, and the energy just transfers. We know when someone is genuinely interested, or if people are just talking to us for the sake of talking and trying to have a conversation.
yeah, right. All the body language, if your
Yeah.
eyes are going everywhere, then yeah.
I did like what Afzal shared about talking with everyone. One thing I discovered in my earlier years when I was working in corporate was I literally would talk with anybody. I would just bounce into the office and say good morning, and I talk with anyone, the receptionist, the kaka, the cleaners, everyone. And little did I realize that later on in my roles, that helped. Because again, networking is not so much about what we know, but who we know. And we never know who knows who. So we can't judge by, okay, if you are at this particular level in an organization, it means you only know this level and above. It can be across all different levels.
Yep, I agree with that. And another story from me, one of my team moved to Germany last year. And one of the reasons that helped him get the job was he met the hiring manager about 2-3 years before that at a conference. And it was only at that time he met the guy, and somehow he left a good impression. And when he applied for the job, the hiring manager remembered him from that 2-3 years ago. And again, it's what you said about talking to everyone, and you never know when your path might connect again or cross again, and when it becomes helpful to you that you have talked to this person before.
I think networking is fairly simple if we are genuinely interested in wanting to speak with people, and we're curious about what they do, who they are, and we really enjoy having conversations.
Yep. That's right. Okay, so the next one is about, and there are some other questions related to this, about how do we prepare for a networking event, but there were also questions about how do we network in general, how do we approach people. So I think it all part of this question about how do we prepare to network. I put it as networking event, but I think it's more about how do we approach networking. You want to start first, Chevonne? Yeah.
Sure. Is this for internal? Are we covering internal first?
I think let's do internal first.
Internal first, yeah. I would emphasize on being curious about getting to know somebody else.
Yep.
And like you mentioned earlier, Asar, we all like it when people are interested in our stories. The more we feel that someone else is interested, the more we share. So if we are, how do we prepare? Make sure that we know the reason we are going for the networking event. What is the reason we're going for it? Is it to get to know certain people? Is it to learn about different people within the industry? So the very number one reason I would give as a tip is to understand why we are even attending the event. That will help us with the preparation. So if we are going to an internal event, because it's a company function, right? Have we been an employee for a while and we want to potentially move up the ranks, whether it's laterally or move up? We want other people to know about us. Strike up a conversation. If we are thinking or planning on moving to a different department, find out who works in that department. Get to know those people. Give those people the opportunity to know about you, and let them know that you are interested if ever there is an opportunity to join their department. Plant a seed in their minds so that they will remember.
Yep. That's very good advice. I think it's knowing who's going to be there at the event. And when I say event, it doesn't have to be an event. It could be just a half an hour meeting that you've been invited to, or a much longer half a day a meeting, and if you do your homework and know who is going to be there, you should always approach it beyond just meeting. I'm also networking. This is another opportunity for networking. So for us who works for MNC, maybe that you're invited to a regional meeting or a corporate meeting, then wow, you should not think, oh, this is a nice holiday for me going to wherever it is, which is also nice, but must think the other objective is I want to network. And then you look at the list of invitees, who is there and who do I need to talk to for whatever your goal is. That's the other part. It has to match your goal. And if you don't have a goal about career movement and all that, then a little bit tougher.
That's when we'll wing it, right?
Yeah, a little bit tougher for me to guide you because you don't know where you want to go. Therefore, you don't know where you want to network towards. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. It's
yeah.
like going for a road trip and you get in your car and you don't know your destination and you're just driving around, not knowing where you're going, how far you're going, how long it's going to take you, and you end up probably eventually driving back home.
Yeah, that's right. Don't know where to go, just go home, right? That's a good one, actually. Yeah, I know I wrote about this before, about having a career plan, about 5-year career plan. And some people say, I don't even know what I'm doing tomorrow. And that's not the point. It's having this general direction. And like my career move, I'm sure y'all might be the same, Chevonne, that my career move was, nothing was according to plan. Like all my movement happened not according to when I wanted, not to where I wanted, but roughly it is in the right direction. But it's never according to plan, but you need that direction. Otherwise, like you said, driving around in a circle and you might just come back.
I would also add, have realistic expectations. Don't expect to go for a networking event and expect immediate outcomes. That's not how it works.
Yes.
That is not how it works at all.
Yep. It's the start, or the first time you meet someone is the start, and then after that you have to continue building that you in your plan. You might have a few people you want to meet, and then you realize, oh, okay, I haven't seen Mr. A for about 6 months now, so next opportunity you have, make sure you take that to say hello. Even a hello is good enough to remind someone that you are there in the company.
Just to add, Asar, for those internally, if you are looking to potentially move throughout the ranks, whether you want to get promoted, you want to move to another department, try not to be shy to share your achievements. Because what I am noticing, especially since borders have opened and all of us are adapting to the new normal, it is very competitive. So keeping quiet and hoping that someone will learn about your achievements probably will not help you. You need to put yourself out there because you don't know how many other people are doing exactly the same thing.
Yep. I say that when you're networking, what your objective is, you want them to know you, and then the second one is that you want them to know what you have done. So that's the two key things in terms of what you want them to remember about you, who you are, and what have you done. And what about external event, Chevonne? So you're more an expert on this than I am.
No, not at all. It's still a work in progress for me. I'm far from an expert. I would say very similar, Azhar. Externally, it's really not being shy in putting yourself out there because not many people know you. So you need to put yourself out there, get to know people, being curious about getting to know somebody else, genuinely wanting to connect with the person, learn about them and have a conversation. I find that is key. And that is what people remember. Rather than going straight to an external event and saying, for example, hey, Abzul, okay, so my name is Chevonne. I'm a leadership coach. I'm a facilitator. I'm a speaker. Do you have any work for me? That's a no. Please do not do that.
What? Second-hand car salesman approach.
Yeah, get to know the person, have a conversation, and then follow it up after that. Especially if you feel that you connect with the person,
Mhm.
build that relationship. It's really about building relationships.
So do you go to networking events, or is it more through LinkedIn that you approach people first and then meet them later?
It's a combination. So I do go to some events.
Right.
I also meet with connections from LinkedIn, and I meet up with them one-to-one, or sometimes two people at a time, like how I met you, Azhar, over
Yeah.
coffee.
Uh-huh. Okay.
It's intentionally getting to know the person, and then chatting with the person. So my style, and everyone's got a different style. For me, it's following the person's posts, so I get a sense of the person. Like, are you someone I can relate to? Do I resonate with what you share? I will visualize having a conversation with the person. Can I picture myself having a conversation with you? I'd like to learn more about you. And then I take it to chat, private messaging,
Mm-hmm.
and I start a conversation.
Okay.
And after a while, when that conversation gets started, then an invitation to coffee or lunch or tea time. And that's how it continues.
Right, right. Same for me. I have to say here, I haven't been to, in Malaysia, I haven't been to so many networking events, and even abroad, also not many. I tend to meet people externally via Congress, when I attend Congress, or when I attend educational event. That's when I meet people outside of my organization. And then in Malaysia now, most of my external networking have been through LinkedIn, and similar approach. I probably, my direct messaging phase is a bit short, I think. And then it's out to coffee already. And similar to you, I think you judge the vibe beforehand. Is this somebody that I want to continue having a conversation, and are we similar wavelength, or
Yeah, like, can we have conversations? Will it flow? Will I be struggling to think of how to continue the conversation?
Yep, yep. And then I want to ask you the question from Suilun about what do you do when you don't get response from the people who you're interested in networking with. I think he wrote something about, there are times when he has approached people and not really been reciprocated.
Got it. Okay, so if you see me looking away from this screen, it's because I'm looking at the question on my
The
phone.
question I said.
I'm not being rude, people. I'm not being rude, not intentionally. This is the one, number 4, right, Azhar? Trying to add value, proactively reaching out to offer value. I don't have context for this question, but what I do know is that when we are trying to introduce or promote a service to somebody else, the direct way just doesn't work. I know it definitely doesn't work for me. When someone messages me, and as soon as I connect with them, or they connect with me and they say, "Hi, I'm selling this, I'm thinking to myself, okay, great conversation. Thank you for even trying, right? Because there's so many people doing that. Have a conversation, at least mention something about their posts. Share something about yourself, and then ease into it. I want to say the biggest insights would be someone's LinkedIn profile. It tells you if the service that you are offering, or the product that you are offering, is it relevant to what this person is doing? Because there might not be traction because it's not relevant, or there might not be traction because there's no trust built. They don't know what you're offering. Who are you? Why should I listen to you? That would be my take. Or even switch up, again, I'm looking at the question, switch up the approach of doing it. A lot of the ways is really through trial and error.
Yep. I think the I read a book recently about the psychology of persuasion, and a very interesting book about how our mind works, about how we believe advertisement and all that. And maybe I can send you the link to the book, Ceylon. It's quite an interesting one about how people establish trust and all that. Yeah, it's
And if someone says no, they're not interested, don't give up, keep trying. It's great practice, keep trying.
yeah.
But from the LinkedIn profile, it would say a lot about what the person is doing. Assuming the person's LinkedIn profile is up to date and accurate, it will tell you about what the person is doing if what you are offering is relevant. Another thing as well, if you are using LinkedIn to connect with people, I would strongly advise that your LinkedIn profile is updated and share some posts so that people know you really do exist on LinkedIn. Because there are times when people, connect with others, right? And we click on a profile, we might see only say maybe, for example, I'm just giving an example, 50 connections, no posts. So we're not sure, who are you, do I connect, do I not connect? Why should I listen to you? Just have a basis of something in your profile and don't give up, keep trying.
Yeah. And about posting, yeah, setting a regular rhythm for it.
Yeah.
One of the problem I think people have is that they think they need to be very regular in terms of every other day or something, which is quite a lot. I know I post every day, but it becomes to me, it's just a rhythm now. But when you're starting, then when I started, I remember I aim every once a week, and I put it in my calendar that I need to post it every Monday. And I remember being quite stressed about that, once a week. But then it gets easier, and then it gets to 3 times a week, and then it becomes every weekday, and then now it's just every day, and that's how people get to know you a little bit, and you
find your rhythm. But the key is consistency. Even if it is once a week, the key is consistency. If you don't write original content, that's fine. If you find a really helpful post on LinkedIn, repost it and add your thoughts so that people will know what your thoughts are about what you've just shared. That's another way.
Yeah. And not too often, try to be a little bit challenging in what you write, because if you're too, what I would say, too safe, then it doesn't show people what you can think about. What's your thinking, because it seems like you're just following the crowd and saying what everyone is already saying. So therefore
I hope that answers that question, Asar, number 4.
I hope so. I think there is a question. My mouse seems to be misbehaving.
Shall I read it out?
Can you read it out?
So this, how about if, let's say, I wish to network with someone from the digital health community and I see someone from LinkedIn I'm eager to meet, how do I ajak them for coffee? How do you make a relationship happen? In brackets, sounds like dating.
I think you have to understand their work and figure out how can it fit with your work. So I know that you're also in healthcare, Suilun. Then think about where, for me, when I approach people for collaboration, I already have in mind at least an idea where I think we can work. And therefore, when you see what they are doing, then I'm like, wow, okay, this might fit with my work in diabetes. So therefore, in this conversation that Chevonne said, that we already having a little bit of chit chat, and then I might mention, okay, we are interested in the diabetes healthcare, and I thought maybe we can discuss. So that would be my approach when I'm interested in something that someone else is doing, and I'm genuinely thinking I want to collaborate. Therefore, I know a little bit what are the areas that we can work together, and then I start having conversation and then inserting that idea already in that conversation.
Yeah, that's a good one. Even share with them why you would like to meet up. I'd like to pick your brain. I'd like to learn more about you. I'd like to exchange ideas. I would like to be in, a similar role in future, and any tips and advice you share would be helpful. If you're okay to meet over coffee or tea, that would be helpful. Just put that in. Do not be afraid to ask for help and advice.
Yep. And I've approached people to come and talk to my team also, because when I saw what they have done, I thought they can be inspiring in this certain area, and that's how I approached them. I said that I saw your talk, your video, and I really like what you talk about this. Do you mind coming to talk to my team about it? And they have said yes, because they know that you are genuinely interested, and you pick on some specific strength from them that you want them to teach my team. So that was one approach.
There's another question in the chat, Azhar.
Yes.
Are you able to see?
Yes, I can see now. This is from Travis. That's the one, is it? Or
That's
is
the
that
one.
another
Yes,
one? Yeah.
that's
So
one.
good networking builds good first impression, but if someone already has a perception about you, how can we go about to change that? Do you want to try first, Chevonne?
Jang. In my experience, I wouldn't go about intentionally changing anyone's perception, because we have our perceptions of everything. It's like trying to convince someone, I'm wearing a green blouse. Don't see the colors you're looking at on the screen right now. I'm wearing a green blouse, and we're trying to convince someone. Just be yourself, be as original and as authentic as possible. If this person happens to be people you want to connect with, and you've tried a few times and you've not succeeded, consider different options, because it's sort of like banging on a shut door that just won't open. That would be my tip. And just be yourself, because eventually we will decide for ourselves if we want to change our perception or not.
Yeah.
How about you, Azhar?
Yes, I agree with that. It means that we don't change our approach. So the approach to networking with this person is the same. However, you might have to do it a little bit more frequently, because for whatever reason, they have a different perception about you already, rightly or wrongly. And therefore, if this guy is or lady is important for your career progression, then you still be consistent in your networking. So the same approach, like Chevonne said, still true to yourself. You might have to do it a bit more frequently, but yeah.
Hope that answers the question, Travis.
Yeah. So and to that point, make sure that you always make good first impression.
Yes, we only get one chance at a first impression.
You only get one chance.
Worst case scenario, I would say it's salvageable with a second impression.
Yeah.
But we need to make sure that we make it salvageable. So this is based on a real life instance before, where I messed up my first impression. I was so nervous, I could not say the words. And this was at one of the senior management teams in the office internally. I didn't have the words, I didn't know what to say. So I ended up just smiling and giggling. Just smiling and giggling. After that, I thought to myself, oh my gosh, that first impression is gone. So I didn't want to give up. I tried again. And when I went back, I went to the same person and I said, hi, I'm Chevonne. I'm not sure if you remember me. I think you might, because I was the one who just kept giggling. And then the senior management team went, yes, I remember. And I said, I'm really sorry. I was really excited. I've been looking forward to speaking with you and learning more about what you do. And I was just so nervous, I ended up giggling. So by doing that, I did two things. One, I was memorable, whether for the right or wrong reasons, but I was memorable. And then I acknowledged the fact that I was giggling and I said, look, I was really nervous. So in cases like that, it was salvageable.
Salvageable.
Yeah. It helps to laugh at ourselves.
Yep.
Yeah.
It goes to the next question about if someone refuses to change a perception about you, is it worth the effort with the person? And again, it depends really the context to that. And for myself, I also have had experience in the past where I don't know why this person have a different perception about me. And despite all my effort, and I remember I use all my how to make a good first impression technique in mirroring and talking about her and all that, and still was not successful. And I have to say, after that, I just gave up. I mean, she doesn't want to change her perception, and I've done all I can for what I think all I can, and therefore okay, it's done. I've tried.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I agree. Yeah, because it comes to a point where how much more do you keep trying?
exactly. Yeah,
And whatever happens, I believe, don't change ourselves just to change someone's perception of us. Still be true to ourselves.
yeah, that's right. Okay, let's see. Is there any more question here? No, not yet. So those are just other comments right now. Okay. So
Were there any other questions that we haven't yet
don't think
addressed?
so.
Huh.
Right.
Farah has a question. Well, Farah has shared
Oh,
that she would
Farah.
like to ask a
Farah
question.
has a question.
Hi.
Hello and good evening to Dr. Zaha, Chevonne, and everyone tonight. So I have a question. So I'm about to embark my career journey. So I'd like to know, as a newcomer to a company, how do I ensure that professionalism is maintained through networking? Like, I am comfortable to approach people, but how to ensure that they don't misinterpret me approaching them first, and how to maintain the professionalism. Yeah, that's my question.
Thank you for the
Oh,
question.
very good
Azhar?
question. Yeah, good question. I think, as I mentioned just now, one of the good thing when you're starting new is then it's expected that you approach people to say hello. So therefore, I would use that window of being new to the company to say, when you send a meeting invite, to already say who you are, where are you working now. I would like to come and say hello and introduce myself to you personally.
Yeah.
And I think that's a good way in the beginning, and it's expected. Therefore, there shouldn't be any misinterpretation of your intention.
Yeah, I agree. Absolutely agree. Especially when we state why or our purpose or our reason for connecting, wanting to network, wanting to have that meeting. It makes it really clear.
Yep. And then I would also take the opportunity that in Malaysia, we all love to go out eating together. So do try to join as many of that as possible. Go out for lunch, and sometimes not so often dinner, but lunch is usually together. And I would encourage you to join as many of that as possible. Wherever they are going, just go, follow. If you don't like the restaurant, also go, just follow.
Yeah. We're bound to find something on the menu to order.
Yeah, that's right. There's another comment here. What I also learned is not to break. Oh my God, my screen. I don't know what's wrong today. Break character, is it?
Yes.
Is to not break character anytime with colleagues, even in happy hour or fun gatherings. Oh, interesting, Suila.
I like how the both of us went quiet after we read it.
It's I laugh because I've been discussing this recently with my
Oh, yeah?
team, and I was discussing it in the context of your online, offline personality. These days, I mean, we can have an hour discussion on this, whether
Days
right,
even.
right, whether it's right or wrong to be friends with your colleague online and all that kind of stuff. But whatever your viewpoint is, the reality is everyone can see yourself online now, unless you are keeping your accounts private. And how much do you show your true self online? And I have to say, at the moment, I have a little bit of problem with that. I think maybe we are a little bit too free. And I agree with what Suilin said, that it's not, you want to be your true self, but also not too true.
Yeah. I believe in boundaries.
Yeah.
It's great. It's encouraged to get to know your team members, your colleagues, your managers' managers. Always remember boundaries. Work is work, and your personal life is your personal life.
Yeah. Yeah.
And for social media, there are options to change settings, especially if you are job searching. And let's just say, you share memes that might not be appreciated by your bosses or by HR. Change the settings of your platform, because there's so many different platforms now. There's Twitter, there's LinkedIn, there's Instagram, there's Facebook.
Yep. Yeah. For me, it goes back to the what is the image you want to portray about yourself, and this is one part of this career growth. Yeah, what is your image and personal branding? So if you want to be seen as professional, but you're professional only 50% of the time, and then when you're out to dinner, you're the most unprofessional person, then it doesn't match. Yeah, so people are confused. Which one are you? Are you this one, or are you that one? So it's a curated image that you need to always be thinking of as you're putting yourself out there.
Absolutely. Yeah. And if by some chance someone's already broken character based on the comment, try not to beat yourself up over it.
Yeah.
Learn from it and move forward, knowing that there are different ways of approaching it.
Yeah, and I read a post recently, and someone described, when you made a mistake, it's like stepping onto a dog poo, right? So you kind of, okay, just brush it off, but the most important thing, don't step onto another dog poo.
Yeah. The first time it's an error. The second time, maybe you don't know it, any better. Third time, it's a choice.
Yeah, exactly.
As painful and as harsh as that sounds, it's a choice.
Yeah. Okay, and so Suilin was mentioning that sometimes people throw around teas and jokes, and it breaks credibility in meetings. It really depends, actually. We have someone who tells jokes all the time, but somehow it fits his personality, so it doesn't dampen his professionalism. Yeah.
Internally, it also depends on the type of employee you are. Are you someone who is consistently performing, consistently behaving and displaying and demonstrating the values and the culture of the organization? That makes a difference too.
Yep, I agree. If you're already a high performer or a good performer, then there
credibility
is
a
little bit more flexibility around that, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so we already are at 9:30 actually. And there is another question, another statement from Afzul about, I think what Farah was asking earlier, that if you network extensively, especially when you're new, it really helps you understand the culture and organization as well. Yeah. Part of that is for you to know how the management work, how the other team work. So I really say to people, when you're new, put the 15 minutes. So you don't need that much time. Yeah. People are also time poor. Yeah. So 15 minutes as a newbie is enough to introduce and have a little bit of time with those in your organization.
Yeah, be curious, ask questions, and listen attentively when they share.
Yep. That's right. Okay, so I think this question we also discussed already, and we are already 9:30, and I normally don't want to go over time because, again, I know I want to respect people's time, that we do this for 1 hour only. I really appreciate what you have all contributed tonight. We've had a very good discussion, some very good questions. And thank you, Farah, for being brave and asking live as well. I hope
And Afzul for sharing as well. Sorry,
Afzul
and Afzul as well.
Afzul sharing as well just now. And so I really want to thank everyone for being here tonight. And I hope I have answered some question, and with Chevonne's help also give more context about how we network internally and externally. And after this, if you do have more question, yeah, please ask us some more, and you will have our contact details, and I'll be happy to answer as much as I can to help you with your networking opportunities, with your networking planning. Yeah.
Yeah, feel free to connect, follow, send a message, say hi.
Yep. I mean, networking, you're not gonna get good after the first one. It's, again, like everything else, gets better with practice. So need to have a plan and then practice. Okay, so I'm gonna end here. So for me, I'm gonna end now to let you know about a newsletter that I've started. So this is about career, and every 2 weeks I'm writing about a particular topic in career progression, and it will include one career tip and one action point that you need to take for that day, should you choose to take it, of course. And if you are interested, then that's the QR code. And then lastly, I want to say thank you so much for Chevonne. And this is her QR code for her LinkedIn profile if you're not connected already. And so please say hello to her as well. And later on, if you have questions for her or for me, you know where to reach us. So
thank you so much for having me, Azhar. It's so nice to share, to learn, to interact with everybody. I really enjoyed it. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Chevonne. Thank you, everyone. Good night.
Good night. Thank you.
Let's stop recording first.